home.
blame you. I don't blame you. Now, you seem to have an extraordinary grasp of names and dates and places. What was it that got you involved in history? Where did the interest in history come?
Okay, that would be a question I have never been asked before, so I'll do my best. When I was in Philadelphia as a young man, I went to the, you know, you remember things as a kid. The Charles W. Henry Public School, 58. Boys one side, girls one side. That was over the door. You never forget that. When I got to high school age, my father decided it would do better if I went to a Quaker school. So I went to the William Penn Charter School for 4 years in their high school division, which was not easy because they started kindergarten and go to 12. So you go in there for the last 4 years. Only 2 people in the class were the last 4 years. The rest had gone all the way. And you somehow picked up a sense of the past. The school seal was William Penn's seal. In other words, his personal seal was the school seal. And you sensed that something had been around a long time. And maybe that was a big... Also, when I went to Penn Charter, as I understand it, that always means I could be wrong, it was the only, what I call high school, secondary school in North America that still taught English history as a requirement for graduation. So you took English history, it was required, along with American history, but they actually taught a full course, a year's course in the high school in English history. You got somehow a feeling of the past. William Penn Charter School with a date in the 17th century, and maybe that was the start. I don't know. And you come back to New Haven with a strong sense of the past, with Yale University being downtown, living with my grandparents occasionally on holidays on Winthrop Avenue. So maybe it was being exposed to a sense of the past, either going to the Quaker school or coming back to New Haven and going to Yale 2 years one time and 2 years at a later time. Maybe that was it. Be hard to say exactly when.
Okay, now you are the official New Haven historian. How did you get to be the person in that position?
The State Act, Enabling Act, which I kept, it's on the other side of the door there so I wouldn't lose it. It was during the administration of Biagio Delito. Joe Carbone called me up one day and he said, you know, Dick, there is a state statute that enables the senior elected official in any municipality of the 169, whether it's the first selectman or the mayor of New Haven, to appoint a municipal historian. He said the actual title is official municipal historian. He said, would you accept that from the mayor? Because we know that whatever you said would be totally non-political. You would never involve the title official New Haven, official municipal historian for New Haven, in anything that was political. It would always be non-political. So he said, if you'd like that, he said, we'll just send your name to the state and you get a certificate from the state. I knew Mayor Delito, I would say personally, because when he was a, excuse me, when he was a captain in the police department, he was head of neighborhood security. And we used to have neighborhood association meetings at Foot School, and then they'd come over here afterwards to meet the captain in the police department, who was the head of neighborhood security. So we got to know him in another way.
Right.
And so when he became mayor, of course, I remember the first time he came here, we had a 120-pound Doberman. He took one look at that. He said, Dick, I'll tell you one thing. I can't come to the meeting on the back porch if that Doberman's upstairs. He said, well, police officers don't enter houses or apartments with Dobermans around. He said, believe me. So I said, push the Doberman downstairs. He screamed and yelled for an hour. And Mayor Delito, at that time Captain Delito, sat on the back porch and talked to the neighbors who wanted to come from the meeting at Foot School. So I'd known him for a long time. I also thought he was an excellent choice for mayor. Things changed, and you had John Daniels, and you had Frank Logue, and then John DeStefano. Each one has renewed my appointment when they became mayor of the city of New Haven.
So what was the year that you first was appointed?
That, if you look on the back of the door there, it will be there.
Okay.
Because the state issues, the first time the state issues a certificate.
Yep.
Not the second time, because I don't know how many, and you would know this better than I, how many municipal historians there are. If you start issuing certificates every time there was a new one, I'm not saying the 169 towns or cities do that, but
Right.
you would have to have a certificate issuer sitting up there in Hartford, and you would know that being the the municipal historian for Cheshire. So you get a lot of questions, and the only time I answer them, I acknowledge everybody,
Yep.
is if it's in writing,
Oh,
and I answer in writing.
interesting.
And Jim Campbell helps me answer them in writing, because I don't have a reference library here.
Right.
I
Jim
don't-
Campbell is the librarian at the Whitney Library
Yeah,
in the New Haven
no,
Museum.
Jim has a tremendous knowledge of New Haven history,
Yes, he does.
and also his background is not what you would normally find. It's very broad. He went to UConn Stores, a degree in American history. He got a Bachelor of Divinity from the Yale Divinity School. He got a Master's of Sacred Theology from Westminster Theological Seminary in Philadelphia. And he got a Master's of Science in Library Science from Southern Connecticut. And he worked for People's Bank
Huh.
for many years. He was in charge of branch manager training
Amazing.
at People's Bank. I know Jim very well. I talk to him at least once a week on the phone because he bails me out. Because I'm sitting here, and I've got stuff here and everywhere and upstairs, but it's not when you can readily get your hands on it. So I have a weekly contact with 114 Whitney Avenue through the library there.
Now, what is your determination, rather, for the duties of a municipal historian? Because I know that when you're named, they don't actually have a list of duties. What do you think they are?
Respond to questions on New Haven as best you can with no time frame. Anything that comes up. And many times I have to say to the person, I cannot substantiate this. This is my understanding. Now, I'll give you an example. Maybe I shouldn't use this, but I will. It is my memory that when the what we now call the Q Bridge was originally planned, it was to go from City Point to Morris Cove. And it was to be an enormous bridge across the harbor there. And the city of New Haven at that point said, if you do that, no one will ever be able to get to New Haven, because you come from City Point area, that area, over to the general Morris Cove area, and then on out to East Haven. It will be very difficult to get to New Haven. And then it was redesigned to come into the harbor, and the Q Bridge was designed, and then on to East Haven. I don't think you could document that, except it was told to me by an assistant comprehensive planner for the city of New Haven. They said that was the thing. He said, Dick, you ever want to substantiate that? I don't know how you do it, because it was telephone calls. President Eisenhower was the president at that time. And he said a series of telephone calls. Today you might have email or something like that in the file. He said, so this person said, Dick, I'm telling you that, this is what happened, but you can't substantiate it. And I wouldn't have to try to do it either.
Right.
Because people would say, you were working in City Hall, you knew this happened? And they would say to me, substantiate it. And I'd say, how? So that I put aside. I found that nobody else seems to have known that that happened because they're all deceased. Time goes on.
Oh, yes.
So I believe that to be true, and I can see why the city's point was, you can't work that.
Right.
Work that.
Now, in addition to answering questions and doing research either yourself or with Jim, do you maintain a collection of New Haven artifacts and memorabilia?
Yes. We've been doing that since the 60s.
Wow. That must be some collection.
It's mainly prints. What I see now, I can't do it. But Linda and I, for years, we used to get the Newtown Bee. We don't get that anymore. We would go to a flea market or antique show at least 50 Saturdays a year. In the summer, we'd go to Salisbury, which is huge in the cow pasture up there, and we do Kent. Kent in October was one of the best in New